What's up, Philly fans? Welcome back to Philly Sports Fire. My name is Chris, bringing you the latest on Philadelphia sports news and analysis. As we know, there's been a lot going on about the 76ers and the upcoming draft. Will they end up keeping the pick, picking someone at number 3, or will they try to trade down and acquire some other players that can help them win now? Also, some stuff on Daryl Morey, on some things that he said, and whether we can really trust the words he's saying, or if he's actually going to consider trading this pick. We'll break that all down in this video. As expected with the crazy offseason with really nothing to talk about with the Sixers because of them not being in the playoffs, it makes sense for there to be a lot of trade scenarios going on. And the news that we've really been having is about Morey keeping the pick. Morey saying we plan on taking this pick. We're going to get a younger squad. And one of the things I want to actually point out was right after the draft lottery, Daryl Morey said in an interview, a quick interview, the 3 pick is a tremendous player and we really like picking 3. So even right after the lottery, it seems that Morey actually had his eyes on a specific player, which, if I were to guess, is probably Ace Bailey. Paul George was talking about him. Nick Nurse was talking about him. That really seems pretty much like the player they are set on. Daryl Morey's going to look, and they're going to scout and take a look at these guys, see if there's other players that maybe they like, something going on, if something ends up happening. But it does seem pretty much that Ace Bailey is the solidified number 3. But Morey's still going to probably look at other options. As we also know, there was a report on Daryl Morey taking phone calls to listen to other teams' offers, which also, as I said in a previous video, makes sense because if you're going to be listening to offers, it doesn't mean that you are going to trade the pick. It just means that you're listening in to see what these teams have to offer. Now, of course, this was right after the draft lottery, so things could change. This could just be the instant reaction with scouting, with the NBA draft combine, all of that going on. There definitely could be changes that come. They could look at players and see other things that they like or some things that they don't like. But we also got to keep in mind Daryl Morey's history of things that he's said and some decisions that he's made. As we know, the James Harden trade. He's already done that twice already, trading for Harden. And as we know, he's already tried trading for other stars. Rumors about Kevin Durant, calling up all different teams to see if their star players are available. And Morey does have a tendency of trying to look for those big names, those players that, while they may not be in their prime now, he still goes for them in free agency or in trades, aka James Harden and Paul George. Neither of these players were in their primes. They were starting to hit the downside of their career, but Morey still went after them anyway and ultimately did acquire them. And as we know, a source very well known by Philly fans said that Daryl Morey is a liar. So it pretty much is really hard to tell what is true and what is not true. So whether the things that Morey says are lies or not, but then again, remember Chris Paul, Patrick Beverley, James Harden, just to name a few, have already mentioned trust issues with Daryl Morey. Morey also does have some history of being active at the draft, even with the 76ers. When he first came to Philly, he acquired Danny Green, he acquired Seth Curry, and as we know, he drafted Tyrese Maxey, which was absolutely amazing. But then the next season, he did end up taking the pick again. He took Jaden Springer, which was probably the worst pick that he's made since being here in Philly. But then he also traded for DeAnthony Melton, which was a very good trade. So these trades that he did make out of the draft have actually been very good, and the picks that he's even made have been excellent for Philly. So I'm not doubtful about Daryl Morey's drafting, and I actually really trust the drafting that Morey has done. That being said, it would make sense for Morey to take this pick at number 3, but with looking at how active he has been at the draft and just looking at trades in the past trying to go for big names, I would not be surprised at all if Daryl Morey is going to consider trading this pick. And just because Morey is saying, I'm going to pick at number 3, we like who's at number 3, does not mean that he will not trade the pick. Again, this is Daryl Morey. This is the same GM that was reported. He asked for Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and a first-round pick for Tobias Harris. I would not be surprised if Daryl Morey would call up the Los Angeles Lakers and say, hey, I want to make a trade. We will give you the number 3 pick and Paul George. Give us Luka Doncic. Or If the Atlanta Hawks, for example, called up Morey and said, hey, we might be looking to rebuild and move up in the draft, and Morey said, okay, I'll give you Paul George, the number 3 pick. I want Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, and multiple future picks. As we know, Morey has very high asking prices. And in the end, I mean, it does work in some ways. When he traded James Harden, he got 2 first-round picks, including an unprotected future Clippers pick, which could be very valuable. So it does seem like Morey is valuing the picks better now, and he stands his ground very strongly. And so if a team is saying, hey, we really want to move up, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, take a look at them. They have 30 picks through the next 7 years or so. The Utah Jazz also have Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. And if they're trying to get some picks, trying to move up in the draft because they are ultimately tanking, then they might be a team that is looking and saying, hey, we just want a top pick in the draft. And they might be a team willing to budge and say, hey, we'll take what you are offering us. Knowing Daryl Morey, anything is possible. Thank you everyone for tuning into this video. Make sure you like, leave a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button. That being said, peace out, Philly.